Hey, welcome back. If you clicked on this video, it's probably because your cable management looks something like this. Or if you care about your cable management even a little bit, maybe it looks something like this. Don't worry, I was like you about 2 weeks ago. And I did a little bit of research on how to do some cable management, saw some awesome videos on YouTube, and I want to save you from doing all that research. I'm going to make it easy on you. Really, you only need about 3 of these things that I'm going to show you, but I'll show you 5 items in total that you would need to do your cable management. If you want to do just the basics, it'll cost you about $25. If you want to do a very, very nice job, it'll cost you around $40, let's say, okay? So not too much, you're not breaking the bank. And honestly, it makes your setup feel amazing, so much cleaner. You actually want to be sitting by it without having your feet touching random wires. So let's get right into it. So there's a few different steps that you can take to do your cable management, but regardless of what steps you'd like to take, the first step always is the most boring step, and that is to plan out what you're doing. This is something that I had to think about for a few days when I was doing my cable management, and you have to kind of figure out where you'd like to put your monitors, where you'd like to put your computer, where you would like to put other items like the light that I have behind me or speakers, things like that. Once you plan that out and you know where the wires are going to go, you can start working on the cable management. But the first step before doing anything is to do the planning. Now after that, the next step would be to purchase your items. Once they come in the mail, then you can start working on it. So after you've got everything planned out, my first step that I took was to figure out what I'm going to do with the wires for my mouse and keyboard. If you've got a wireless setup, you don't have to worry about this part, but if you've got a wired mouse and a wired keyboard, then you have to figure out what to do with those wires. Obviously, if you have those wires going straight to the back of the table and then hanging underneath the table, the wires will still be going from where they are on the mouse and keyboard to the back of the table. That doesn't look the best. Personally, what I did was drilled a hole in my table and I fed the wires through that, and then I did cable management underneath my table from there. That's a route that a lot of people take. I don't have a very expensive table. It's a Lindemann IKEA table. It was like 45 bucks. So you can do that method, but if you have an expensive table, you'd have to figure out what you'd like to do with the wires. If you have a wired mouse and keyboard, it might be a little difficult to have a very clean setup if you have an expensive desk you don't want to drill through. So there's clamps that you can purchase that guide the wires to wherever you'd like to guide them. So that's something that you can do on your own. For me, I went the easy route and just drilled a hole in my table. After you drill the hole in your table or figure out what you're going to do with your mouse and keyboard wires, the next step would be to figure out what you're going to do with the raceway. Now this is the first item that we would purchase. This is the first item that I set up personally. You can set them up on the back of the table, hanging from the back like this. So imagine that I'm the wall, the table is where you are, this would be hanging on the table, and you have tape, and you're sticking it right there, and then the wires are going through this opening, okay? The other option, which is the one that I opted for, I went underneath the table and stuck this part underneath the table. Now I personally have 2 different raceways underneath the table going like this. Let me flip it like that. So they're going underneath the table like this, and in the middle right here where the wires are feeding, I've got cable hooks that are guiding the wire to where I want them to go. I've got cable hooks for my mouse and keyboard wire guiding them where I'd like to go. So that is the second item, which is cable hooks. Now this is a group of 25 that I purchased on Amazon. It was like $7. They have adhesive on the bottom. You just tape it to the table or stick it to the table, and then you guide the wire through the clamp. And then you've got a bunch of these going throughout your table, guiding the wires exactly where you would like them to go to make a nice and seamless setup. Now you're probably wondering, or you're probably asking yourself, how do you tape this to the bottom? And obviously I got you covered. The people that actually sell these, where you purchase them from on Amazon, provide you some tape. So this is the tape that they provided. As you can see, I didn't use it because I opted for another method. I actually went with 3M tape. This is also like $6 or $7 on Amazon. It comes in squares of 4, and you rip off the little square that you'd like to use and you tape it to the back of the raceway. Now, if you have heavy wires that are going through the raceway and you think that they'll be kind of bogging the raceway down, you obviously don't want it to rip off. So instead of putting 2 adhesives, I would put 3, depending on what kind of wires are feeding through. Usually the monitor wires are a little bit thicker, or your computer wire might be a little bit thicker. So for that section, maybe put 3 of the adhesives. For everything else, I just put 2 adhesives. Now, talking about the monitor power brick, what I did was actually put an adhesive on the bottom of each of the power bricks. So while the power is coming out of the monitor for the wire, they've got a square brick that most monitors have, and I just put some tape on the bottom and I stuck it to the table, and then from there I used my cable clamps to guide the wire where I'd like. Now, to create an even better solution for myself, what I did was I used some of the wires that were already connected to my table via the cable clamps or the raceway, and I would use those as a guide for the other wires coming in. So for the part that I'm showing you right now underneath my table, it might look a little messy just because you see wires going everywhere. But for me, this was a better fit because I had to use less cable clamps, I had to use less raceways, and I was able to guide the wires exactly where I wanted them to go and make it just look very nice and professional. Now, I do have a USB hub where I connected the mouse and keyboard, and any other USBs that I would like to connect. You can purchase this as well. This would be the 4th item. This is about $10 on Amazon. It connects to your computer. So you would connect the mouse and keyboard to the hub, and then the hub connects to your computer. And obviously I've got the hub connected to my table as well via the mounting strips. So that would be the 4th item, and then the 5th item would just be where all the outlets run into. Okay, so the surge protector, I had an extra one laying around. I am more than positive you probably have an extra one laying around, so that'll save you about $10. But if you really need to purchase that, it's $10 on Amazon. I'll link everything below. You would connect that via the tape and the adhesive as well, and then connect all the cables together. So this is where the planning really comes in handy, because if you plan everything properly, when you start setting everything up, you just plug and play, and it's really easy. For me, what I realized was I was kind of overthinking a lot of this process, saying, oh my God, this is going to be so much work, this, that, whatever. The first step is to just take one of these raceways, put some tape on it, and just mount it. Even if you don't have anything planned, just mount it somewhere, because at least you have a start this way. At least you know where the wires will have to go through. If you're just going to sit there and plan it, you might spend hours trying to plan it, and you won't have anything implemented. Once you put one thing on, I can promise you things start cascading, things start falling into line there, and you get more motivated to do it, and it looks awesome. It looks so much better. So I'm hoping you learned a thing or two from this video. I'm hoping that it motivates you to go out and do your own cable management, and that your cable management doesn't look like anything from the pictures that I showed earlier in this video. If this did help you, obviously like the video, thumbs up, whatever you can to help support. Subscribe as well. And if you have any questions, leave a comment below. If it's something that helped you out, leave a comment below. Either way, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching.